What's going on, FPL managers? Welcome to a new video from Fantasy Football Scout. We've got 30 minutes until the deadline of Gameweek 15. Such a quick turnaround from the last game week, and I'm joined by FPL Sonaldo, aka Andy, and making his debut on Scout is FPL Bruno. Thank you for joining us both. How are you?
Very good, very good. Very excited to have Bruno on today. Ted, thanks for inviting me again.
Absolutely. Bruno, how are you, bud?
I'm very excited to be doing this. Excited to be doing my debut next to Andy as well. We've been together for a long time, known each other for a long time as well. And you as well, Ted. Been a big fan of you even since you were doing TED Talks FPL, your YouTube channel. So I feel like I know you already, even though we're meeting today.
You're taking all my bad advice. Yeah, oh dear. No, it's great to have you on both. And yeah, we'll go through our teams today, have a look at how we're set up for Game Week 15, talk through our transfers and everything. And yeah, fingers crossed for a good game week. But I mean, let's get stuck into it, right? Lots to talk about. And Andy, we'll start with you. So we've got a 4-4-2 formation. What transfers have you made this week?
So I went for Bowen. I got him early. I was always going to go for Bowen. So I traded out or transferred out Mbumo. And the reason being is that I think there's going to be a new template approaching us very, very soon. I feel like I did very well getting onto the Chelsea wingbacks and the previous template, but I feel like there's a shift coming. So I could have gone for someone with a better fixture this week and this and that. But what I did was talk to Pros, and I was very confused on what to do this week. And Pros, being the veteran and obviously more experienced manager, gave me such good advice was, why don't you try to make a wild card for game week 16, 17, and see who you need to get to. So when you make a wild card, your iPhone, I have an iPhone, your camera roll is full of screenshots and drafts. So I had 20 different drafts, and I narrowed it down to 2 or 3 that I really liked. And so Bowen was going to be in my team. I think the question is whether to double up with Antonio, and I have a way to Antonio. I think we don't have enough about the United boys yet, and I'm sure we're going to want them, right? So this week, Champions League, and maybe another game week, we'll see if we want Cristiano. Some people say it's good. Some people say it's not good. We want Sancho, maybe Rashford, so many options, right? So that's a wait and watch over there. And then, King and Dennis, I'm in no rush. They have a tough fixture this week, but I'm sure I'll get one of them in next week. And then there's the, question of what to do with Alonso as well. So a lot of questions, no answers right now. So I just thought, let's make this a smart move, get to Bowen, hoping for a decent green, if not a gray. Worst case scenario, a slight red this game week. But in the long run, I feel like I'm setting up myself very well. So that was the reason behind Bowen.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, Bowen's completely different. I think, was it mainly because you're going to find it difficult to go back to Antonio, or do you just not fancy getting him back in just because of his poor form?
I fancy getting him back in. So I was one of the luckier guys to ship him out in game week, I think 8 or 9. So I got away with it. I think that he's been unlucky. I think he could have returned here and there, pass to assist multiple times, this and that. So I just feel like I think I'm going to want Antonio, whether it's next game week or game week 18. I'm looking to bring him back in. And I know I'm reading the comments as we speak, and someone said Mbumo has better fixtures, and I totally agree. I totally agree here. But the reason I made this move now is because I don't want to be taking multiple hits eventually to get to that wild card team without taking a mini wild card, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. Better to set up for the long term than trust the short-term punts, I think, especially over the festive period where the fixtures come thick and fast, and you need to ignore the short-term transfers, I think, and just go for the long-term ones. Bruno, what do you think of Andy's team and Bowen's punt? I'm not going to go for Bowen myself because I got Antonio, but is that someone that you would consider in your own team?
Yeah. I think even I'm thinking of Bowen for next week. I think Andy had 2 transfers. He wanted to make use of one, so he went in early with Bowen, and his stats are very impressive. For West Ham at the moment, it looks like Antonio is more becoming a lot more like Vardy last season for Leicester when he was going down the wings a lot more. He's doing a lot more hold the play, trying to support the striker, not the striker, but like the other forwards, and one of them being Bowen actually. And there's a lot more space down that right flank for West Ham whenever they're attacking. And this week they're playing Chelsea, and we've seen last week how poor Chelsea have been down the left near Alonso, and Watford kept attacking that part of the pitch. So honestly, I'm quite bullish for Bowen this week as well. I think it's a very, very good transfer.
Yeah, it's a really good point, actually. Sometimes just to ignore the difficulty of the, Andy raising his fists in the air. Yes. I think, obviously we know that Alonso is a little bit of a liability when it comes to defending, but that back five for Chelsea and Rudiger at that left centre-back might be able to have a hold Bowen off, but I think regardless, like, he seems to be playing well at the moment. And I echo your sentiments about Antonio, completely frustrating player to own at the moment, but hopefully during the easier fixtures, West Ham won't have to play in such contained style, and Antonio gets back to that centre forward position a little bit more regularly, and goes back to missing from 6 yards again. That's what we're
I have a
used
question.
to. Yeah, go on.
So I think this could be a common question here: is whether to start Antonio or Livramento. For me, it would be Bowen or Livramento. I decided Bowen ultimately. It was a tough call on Draft Hound. I think the odds rating was 37-38. So, even the bookies are saying it's a 50-50 call. Bruno obviously convinced me to do Bowen, and so did some other friends that I do have. But what do you think here for those that have Antonio and Livramento?
Yeah, what do you think, Bruno? It's quite a difficult one for me.
Yeah, I think so. I looked at the stats, and the last 6 game weeks at home, Southampton are 4-4 XG conceded. And even big chances conceded. So they're very good team defensively at home, and the fixtures as well were not particularly easy. There were a few tough fixtures in there, and the opponents, Brighton. I mean, they are sort of a mid-table attack at the moment. You don't really expect them to score not a lot of goals, and the strike force isn't that great, I would say. And for me personally, if I look at Antonio and compare him to Antonio, at the moment, West Ham, they're 13th, last 6 game weeks, they're 13th for XG. That does not give me confidence at all. And at the same time, Antonio is not in form. So I would definitely bench Antonio for Livramento, I think, personally, if I had him. But
I'm really happy you're saying that, because I've actually done that. We'll come to my team last, but I completely agree with your sentiments. I think West Ham have had a tough run of fixtures, let's just say that. So obviously their XG has been a bit subdued, but obviously they have a tough fixture this week, so it's not changing. So there's no reason to really risk it. I mean, there is something that says always play the attacking player, but I think it's just a bit of 50-50 decision that will probably go the wrong way again. But yeah, I agree. Hopefully Livramento over Antonio. But so now you're ignoring that Bowen ahead of Livramento. Is that something that's not going to change for you? You're locked in?
I think so. At this point, I'm going to regret if I make the move. It's, in some ways hedging the bet against James and Alonso, but again, hedging the bet is such a vague term, but because somebody else could score for West Ham. So it's just, I just saw the upside chasing here is Livramento, but I just feel like Bowen just 1 assist away, right? And the Chelsea defense looked quite shaky last time, so I don't mind it. It's just one player. I'm not, banking I don't want my game week to be defined by Bowen, so it's just easy decision.
Sure, 100%.
Yeah, I think just some last thoughts for Andy here. I think if I had Bowen as well, I would play him. I think Bowen and Antonio is completely different beasts at the moment. And like we spoke, Chelsea really have some weakness down the left. And at the same time, you don't mind playing both James, Alonso, and at the same time playing Bowen, because James and Alonso, they're not really defenders anymore. You might get some attacking returns in there and some bonus points coming along the way as well. So I think if I'm him, and I told him the same thing, just play all 3 of them.
Cool. Well, we've got plenty of other things to talk in Andy's team, but I'm going to move to Bruno's team because it is fairly similar. It's basically you have Sam Maximan instead of Bowen. But I just want to talk about, like, we all have the same defences really at the moment because there's such a strong template. These aren't really defenders, they're wingers, attacking wingers. And you mentioned at the start of the video, Andy, that you think there's going to be a shift in maybe that paradigm. What do you think what we're going to move to? Because these attacking defenders are just so strong at the moment.
I think Trent, James, Reece James, and Cancelo aren't going anywhere. I think Livramento is a question mark that a lot of people will either upgrade him or downgrade him to create funds. I mean, there's some decent options in the 4.0. You know, Ben Johnson, for example, although Kufal does worry me, but when Kufal came in, he played on the left. There's also the Norwich boy. What's his name? Bruno, what's his name?
Norwich.
Williams?
Pookie. Oh, yeah, Brandon Williams.
Williams. So he's a decent, bench fodder at 3.9. And then, there's Ben White as well. So Ben Davis as well. So there's multiple options you can move away from. So that's just a decision you have to make. But I think the Alonso one is the question mark for me. I feel like maybe if we start seeing some decent options in the mid and striker options, then we could create some funds by shifting away from the 4-back. And you got to be adaptable in FPL. Like, I know this template for 4-back has been working for us, but Chilwell is gone, and Chilwell and Alonso are a different caliber of player. So I'm just trying to keep myself open to the amount of changes that's going to come our way in the next few game weeks.
Yeah, 100%. So I agree with you. I don't think there's going to be massive change, but that Alonso spot could definitely change if he continues to assist the assister and all that sort of stuff. I think Reguilon is raising his head as one of a key player in that Conte strategy and that Conte structure. I mean, I think I looked at his XGI rolling average, and it's from flat, and then it's gone exponentially up. So we really need to keep an eye on him, because if he's just going to get in the box at every single possible opportunity, then he could be that fourth defender. I think obviously some people have already got on him already. So credit to you, and obviously you enjoying his returns in recent weeks. But let's get back to your team, Bruno. Gundogan in midfield. Obviously you're playing the Man City merry-go-round. Are you confident that Gundogan is going to be back fit this week and in the starting 11?
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't mind him playing, say, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I feel like he can still get some returns, and I'm more confident on him over probably Mbeumo. So if I may just speak about some stats for Brentford over the last 6 game weeks. They were second in the fixture ticker for Scout. They were second for attack, and they ended up coming out 13th for XG. So they haven't really performed as good as we expected, and clearly the points show that. And historically, when I looked at the games for Brentford against Leeds, surprisingly, it's a very low-scoring games. So we've had a lot of 1-0s, 1-1, 2-1 at most. And so I don't really see a lot of goals, and I have Tony covered for that game. So for me personally, yeah, I see Gundogan as probably the better pick, even if he plays 20 minutes.
As a Rafinha owner, that doesn't strike me with a lot of confidence. No, that would be an interesting game, because we did compare Leeds to Brentford early on in the season, as Brentford might turn into the Leeds of last season. That attacking style that has been echoed. But yeah, you're right. Brentford have dropped off a little bit in that XG department. But I mean, maybe they'll get a second wind and come back to it. But I can imagine Mbeumo has been an incredibly frustrating own, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think to be honest, I'm not too sure what happened there. I'm sure that's the same for everybody. It's like once the keeper got injured, everything just crumbled for them somehow. Or maybe it's just like Luke used to say. I mean, beginning of the season, Luke did a video, I think, with Black Box, and he mentioned how the first 8 game weeks is when the promoted teams, they have that rush of adrenaline, and they do a lot more effort. They look a lot more positive than they actually are. And after that, you see a drop off, and that's exactly what we saw with Brentford. So it might just be that promoted team, they they fall off after some time, I would say.
I've just realised I've made a boo boo in the graphics, and I've got Foden playing for Liverpool in in your midfield. That's meant to be Jota. You know, I was out last night, had a few drinks. I'm not massively on the on the accuracy this morning. So yeah, apologies. Everyone's going Foden to Liverpool in the chat. Yeah, love that. But
No, I think just to protect
Go on.
you here, Ted, you went out and you still did all the graphics and everything. I think kudos to you, honestly. You've been working hard, and then yeah, you deserve respect.
Thank you, my friend. I'm going to go crash after this. No, so Saint-Maximin is basically your differential here, I'd say, against Burnley. I mean, it's a decent shout. But then Newcastle's fixtures get a little worse, don't they? So what's your plan with Saint-Maximin? You're going to move him on to someone else?
Yeah, definitely. So the story behind me getting Saint-Maximin actually was, I know Andy knows about this. So I had COVID the last 2 weeks.
Oh no!
And I took cough syrup. It was like 2 a.m. I was looking at my team. I was like, it's been such a rough week. I wanted to have some fun. I wanted Callum Wilson. Didn't have the money for it.
Yeah.
And yeah, just went for Saint-Maximin just for some fun. Just this week, I just wanted to have fun. And lo and behold, they played against Norwich, ninth minute red card, and the game just got more difficult after that. But hopefully after against Burnley, last time he hauled against Burnley, so I'm quite bullish on with Saint-Maximin.
Yeah, fingers crossed for that. Fingers crossed. So you both have Harry Kane, who again has been a frustrating own, like Mbermo. Surely this is the game that he rewards you both. Andy, what do you think? Chances?
Chances maybe like 2% he gets a goal from owning him since game week 8 or 9. And, you know, I get a lot of, what's the word? Poo from people on Twitter for not having Sonny, because, you know, my handle's Sonaldo. And there's a story behind this because I got Son in game week 8 on my wild card. And then that COVID scare made me go to Kane. And I just haven't been able to, you know, destroy my team to get back to Son and lose Kane because it just didn't make sense. So now I'm stuck with him, and this is the last game week for me. You know, who knows? Maybe he'll return, maybe he won't, but not too confident, to be honest.
Oh my goodness! It must be quite difficult for Son to have scored last game and you've not gone for him. But I mean, in retrospect, when we've talked in the past, I was tempted to switch Son to Kane at one point. So that just shows that the confidence that we had in Son in that Leeds match. He just didn't look at it himself. So he did look better midweek, I have to say. So it gives Son owners a little bit of comfort, but I don't think it's stopping us moving either Kane or Son on next week.
But actually, Ted, I want to say that I watched that game and I saw glimpses of, I mean, Son played great. Right. I even though I have a biased point of view, I thought he played excellent. Right. And I was looking at the Spurs fixtures and it's not too bad. It's actually not too bad. So he may be a decent hold, but I'm not too sure about Kane. Yeah.
It's really tough, isn't it? Because I think we're definitely all going to start feeling the Man United FOMO and like the Ronaldo, like scoring 2 goals against Arsenal ahead of a really good run of fixtures. It's definitely going to turn heads. It certainly turned my head. But there aren't that many obvious Man United picks other than Ronaldo. I mean, we did have Sancho in our sights, maybe Rashford. Bruno, what do you think? Are you going to bring your namesake in, Bruno Fernandes, back in, or is he done as an FPL asset?
Yeah, I think when it comes to the new managers, you have to kind of think of who is going to benefit the most from that team. I don't know if you remember, Andy, but prior to Conte joining, I was saying Reguilon a defender might be the best pick from Tottenham, outscoring either Son and Kane, and that's exactly what happened. Reguilon is top scorer for Tottenham ever since Conte joined in. So even for United, you kind of have to think who is going to benefit the most from the change in tactics and all. And for me personally, it actually is Bruno. From what we've seen with the 4-4-2 diamond, he gets into the box a lot more. And I'm quite bullish with him. He embodies whatever Ralph Rangnick says about his theories about football. So I think he is the most likely to benefit from him. He's on set pieces as well. Lost penalties, but still, I'm quite bullish with him. He just scored his goal after a long time.
Yeah.
So I think, confidence is back in as well.
100%. When I've been watching Bruno recently, he just embodies that passion, that emotion, the team, that he basically emphasises the mood in the dressing room with how he plays on the pitch. And I've just, for the first time in a very long time, I've seen him make terrible, terrible mistakes. Like a couple of the goals that they've conceded have been because he's made some silly defensive passes. And that is probably just summed up from the frustration in the dressing room of not being able to move forward without getting rid of Ollie. So the fact that they've got rid of Ollie now and Man United start playing with a little bit more passion, Fernandes has definitely livened up a bit, and I can definitely see him being the guy that pulls the team forward with Ranić coming in. So he could be an option. It's just his goal threat. I mean, ignoring the goal, obviously, at the in midweek, but his goal threat before that had massively dropped off. And I don't know whether to still pay attention to that or just wipe the slate clean and go, oh, I could plump for Fernandes. That would be insane. But I mean, is it insane? I don't know.
Andy, what do you think?
I think he's too expensive. I see the merit. I think if it was like maybe 10 million, it's a no-brainer. But him being 12, what is he, 12 something now? It's just I don't know. It's too expensive for me.
He's like 11.5 or something.
He's 11.5. Okay.
He's probably still too expensive though.
I think once Salah goes to AFCON, maybe there's a switch there, but not priority. I think is Ronaldo. Definitely, I would say.
That's a good shout, actually. What are Man United's fixtures like during AFCON? I think they are still good, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely.
So AFCON start of January, so that's like 15th of Jan. Man United's fixtures are Villa, West Ham, Burnley, Southampton, Leeds. So yeah, pretty good still. So he could be a switch for Salah. But yeah, I think Ronaldo's the obvious one. Sancho was on the cards. I think I saw Magnus Carlsen move to Sancho pretty early. Do you think he'll regret that, or will Sancho be another player that flourishes under Ranić? What do you think, Bruno?
Personally, I think for these players, the wingers especially, the best answer is we don't know. And sometimes it's okay to say that we don't know. We just have to see how the games go and assess from there. Sometimes going early, you kind of deny yourself the opportunity of getting the better player. Let's say someone went for Emerson Royal for Tottenham prior to Conte joining. They won't make the change to Reguilon. And you can see Reguilon is the one who made the most points. So if you go get the wrong player, it's difficult to change from there. So I think you just wait and see. I'd rather you wait 1 week, get more data, and then make a transfer than just go too early sometimes.
Definitely some wise words there. And I definitely fall foul of knee-jerking a few times. So yeah, I'm trying to be patient. So yeah, 7 minutes before the deadline. Let's better move on to my team. Just a brief word on it. And I've got this stupid formation, which I loathe. 5 at the back, 5-4-1. I was tempted to jump the gun and bring in Ronaldo this week. I had 2 free transfers, and so my transfer this week has been Jimenez to Josh King as an enabler move to do potentially Son and Tony to Maddison and Ronaldo next week. Not 100% sure on Maddison. He looks really full of confidence at the moment, but he's one of those players that I just know is going to be a trap, and I'm going to hate myself for transferring him in, and then he'll just stop doing anything. So a player around that mark, that 6-7 mark, and then Ronaldo for the good set of fixtures. But as you say, Andy, I could think about keeping Son, but I've got that cash in the bank just in case I do want to move for Ronaldo next week. So yeah, Antonio on the bench, Josh King on the bench. Those guys will come in next week for their good run of fixtures, and Rafinha is probably going to be first bench for his poor run of fixtures, which is I think he plays City, Liverpool, and Chelsea in the next 4. So he's not a bad first bench option to have, and the squad will be quite deep. But yeah, playing Livramento over Antonio. So just echo what we were talking about earlier in the stream. So yeah, I don't know what to expect this week. I think if I end up with a grey arrow, I'll be happy, and yeah, I'll hopefully set up well for the coming weeks. But yeah, 5 at the back absolutely kills me.
It looks really good actually. Looking at the individual assets, I feel like you've got good matchups here, good fixtures for everybody. So it looks weird, but it's good, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of like Rafinha. I brought him in for 3 weeks and got super lucky with his penalty, because Leeds just look fairly uninspiring in terms of the attacking potential. Now, Bamford potentially is back for this Brentford game, so that could enhance Rafinha's assist potential. He hasn't got an assist all season. And Tony, he got Leeds as well in that game. So frustrating assets that potentially could be transferred out in the coming weeks, with that sort of one last chance saloon in my team. So fingers crossed that they can do something before maybe they leave the team or get benched in Rafinha's. In regards to Rafinha. So yeah, hopefully it goes okay, but it does look weird, I have to say. I'm excited for Reece James back, to be honest. He's just head and shoulders above the rest, and I think quite a lot of us own him, and it was a shame to see him miss out midweek. But yeah, I don't know what to call with that West Ham game, though. What do you think, Bruno? It's quite a tough one. I think we talked about Chelsea-West Ham earlier, but what do you think of West Ham's chances of winning that game? Are Chelsea just too strong?
Yeah, I think it's quite slim, to be honest. I mean, it's sort of a derby, right? London sort of a derby. And it's at home for West Ham, so maybe from there they'll get some momentum. But really, I think it'll be a very difficult game. Mostly counter-attacking football from West Ham, which is surprisingly it's actually what they are good at, right? But I'm quite confident with my Chelsea defensive double-up, I would say.
I mean, it's not, you don't even really need to consider the clean sheets. It's more about their attacking potential that we've brought them in for. So, yeah, we'll see. But yeah, obviously it just is a massive bonus that Chelsea are one of the strongest defences out there. So, yeah, we will see. We will see. I'm just excited for another round of football. I mean, we've been spoilt. A midweek round and now this. My missus is not happy, so I'll have to make it up to her. But yeah, Chelsea West Ham, the early kickoff. I don't know whether we're doing a match day stream or anything, but yeah. I mean, let's talk about Salah captain. Are there any doubts in your mind that? No, I mean it's really difficult to even contemplate not captaining Salah, especially as he scored a brace against Everton.
Don't quote me on this, but I think Sam Bonfield said that this is the week to captain possibly a Son or Kane, right? But yeah,
I wonder why she's saying that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Maybe I can vouch for Son, but maybe Son, maybe. But again, why would you do that when the ownership's so high and Salah's playing out of his mind? So.
Yeah, for anyone that doesn't know, Sam's a massive Spurs fan, and she loves to captain Harry Kane. So, and that's definitely paid off for her in the past. But yeah, I mean, in terms of objective FPL play, I don't see there's any reason not to captain Salah again this week. So yeah, fingers crossed for another hat trick or something. It doesn't make any difference to our ranks, but we can just be happy about it because it's not a red arrow at least. Right. I mean, what else is there to talk about, chaps? What should we talk about? Like, what do you think like the new template will be? Because we've got like Man United and Man City assets. And I know you talked about this on Scoutcast, Andy. Bernardo Silva is the one that's really kind of annoying me because he's just a really solid pick, but I just can't bring myself to bring him in because it seems like he's going to move position, maybe not stop playing in that false nine role, and because Man City have got a lot of players back, Sterling, maybe even De Bruyne now, Foden, Mahrez. Like, I just don't know. What do you think? Do you think Bernardo Silva's going to change role? Does he become less of an option, or is he just a solid pick?
So for those viewers that may have not seen the Scoutcast, it might be a good view just to see the City section because I think it'll apply to possibly next week and the week following after. But to shortly summarize what I did was kind of look back into the previous 2 seasons and the December crunches, right? And what I realized is City do score a lot of goals. They scored 17 goals in that December period over 7 games in 1920. And then 14 goals last season due to COVID. So I don't really count the COVID season so much. But from that, the goals were super spread out. Like it was very evenly distributed between the players. So for example, I think it was I can't remember, but I think it was KDB that scored 4 in that 1920 season. So whether it's KDB or Sterling or whoever it may be, what that told me is that in a most likely best case scenario, the guy who scores the most goals in 7 or 8 games is going to score 4 goals, right? This is why is a best case scenario is because of how spread out it is. Unless one guy like Silva just goes crazy, scores a hat trick and followed up by a couple of goals after, right? Which is very unlikely. That just told me that it's very hard to predict who's going to be the one that scores the most. And second of all, I know people are talking about doubling up on the city mids, and this abundance theory comes in where, yeah, if they're scoring a bunch of goals and you can predict the top 2 guys, then go for it. But not only do we not know who the top 2 guys are, we really don't know how many they're going to score in the next few games and who's going to start, who's not going to start. Looks like everyone's back, right? So there's going to be rotation. It's inevitable with Pep. So I don't think we should be so high up on the City midfield. Instead, we should look further and possibly look into the good fixtures in United and West Ham and more talisman type of players.
Yeah, 100%. From a like a mentality point of view, from like a mental health point of view, like when your City options are benched, you have to deal with the lows, and obviously you're going to deal with the highs. But if you can deal with that, great. But I personally really can't, and it's just awful. It makes my weekend really, really. I'm just really annoyed all the time. So I'm choosing not to go with the Man City options, but I think you can just take it which strategy you want. And if you go for City options, you probably have to go for them long term just to make sure that you account for that spread of rotation. Bruno, I mean, you've got Gundogan. Are you going to bolster your ranks with City players, or is it just a bit of a trial and error just in case Gundogan goes off on one? Or are you going to move away from City? What's your strategy?
Personally, the fixtures are too good for City, so I definitely want a share of that. I have Gundogan and Cancelo, 2 midfielders. So yeah, I feel like I'm covered there. But I just saw a comment by Colm Burglar, who made a very good shout for Jesus. Now that Mahrez will be going for AFCON, I think that's probably a good move in there. But then the price point for Jesus is a bit awkward, like they say. From there on, where do you move to? I mean, it's quite difficult. So yeah, I think Jesus is a good shot, but where do I find the money for him? It's quite difficult, especially with me going for Ronaldo from Kane. So yeah, I think if you're going from Kane to Jesus, that's a move. So it's either going to be Ronaldo or Jesus for that slot, I would say.
How much is Jesus? He's like 8 point something, isn't he?
I think 8.7-ish.
Yeah, it's an annoying price point, isn't it? But if your team's set up for it, then why not take a punt on Jesus over the African Cup of Nations? I mean, he's probably a little bit more nailed than he used to be playing on that right wing, because Pep seems to favour him there.
Yeah, I think, Andy, when you looked at the players for City, I think he was second in terms of starts for Man City after Bernardo Silva. So he's a lot more nailed than probably we think.
I think less competition on the right as well, Bruno, right?
Yeah, especially Mahrez going for AFCON.
I mean, Bernardo Silva was just so versatile. He could probably play in a number of positions and still make the team. And Pep just loves that style of player. Like he's just emulating David Silva to a certain extent. And he's just getting amongst the goals, so consistent. We've talked about him scoring like hat tricks and stuff. I don't think that's definitely not going to happen. I think he's more of like a consistent returner of stuff rather than an explosive asset. But I mean, for 7.4, I think he is. It's pretty decent money. I wonder whether he's going to be better value than Foden, because Foden's been struggling with that injury. But I think he's back this week. So who knows? People have been patient with Foden, benching him over the last couple of weeks. Might get a reward for their patience this week. Who knows? Watford's a good fixture for City.
Ted, I have 2 additional questions. Maybe you can help, and Bruno as well. One would be about the Watford boys, King and Dennis, because they're slowly becoming template, right? I think one of them will become template. And then Lamptey as an option. I'm reading the comments here. And also shout out FPL teacher who helped me with the Man City spread analysis. So looks like he's doubling up on the midfield. Not sure why. But yeah, Lamptey and the Watford boys. Your thoughts here?
I think I know Dennis is amongst the goals and he's doing really well. But obviously, if you bring him in now, you're going to have to suffer that AFCON stuff because I think he's going off to play for Nigeria this year. And the other fact that I rate King above Dennis is due to the overperformance from Dennis. So, I mean, King's stats are significantly better and he's performing at a sustainable level. He's on penalties. Just to bolster that, I think Dennis is the form pick, but that form could easily drop off, and there's no reason why I would go Dennis over King. So what do you think, Bruno? Do you echo that, or would you prefer Dennis?
Yeah, I think I echo that. I think from what I've heard from James from Planet FPL, he was saying that actually Dennis had a fight, like a proper fight with the managers. That's why he's not being picked for Nigeria. Not sure how true that is.
Oh, he's not. He's not going off.
We don't know, but that's why he hasn't been picked lately. So yeah, that's the reason. So we're not sure whether Dennis will go or not. I mean, he's playing for the best league in the world and playing very well. So you think there'll be a lot of pressure on him on the manager to pick him. So yeah, I think I'll wait and see there. But definitely, I think I'll go for King, especially with Saar injured. King is on pens from what I've seen. So yeah, I think definitely the better option. The two.
I think regardless, like the Saar's penalties both his penalties were rubbish. So I don't think I think regardless of whether Saar was fit or not, I think King would probably take over. And he's scored one since, hasn't he? So yeah, a decent option. I don't think I would double up if that's even crossing your mind. There's too many eggs in one basket. So but for 5.3 and 5.7, I think they're really, really good value to play here and there when some of your key players have some difficult fixtures. So yeah, definitely room to bolster your squad with those players at the moment. Incredible stats for the value of money. And what was the other question? Was it Lamptey about?
Yeah, Lamptey. The potential is there, right? The upside is there, and Brighton just. Okay, I got it from that nod.
I love Lamptey so much, but I know that I transfer him in and he just gets injured or something like that. I obviously that's a terrible way to think about it because otherwise you would never transfer any player who is injury prone while he just racks up the points. I think he's got a few assists recently. He's just miles. He's just so rapid. He's just going to get points. And Brighton seem like a fairly solid team for defensive and clean sheet potential, but I don't see how I could possibly transfer him in when Livramento is still like a viable option, and we've got such a premium backline template. I think it's a luxury transfer for me, but
completely.
Yeah, maybe other people have different opinions and want to maybe downgrade their defense now, get ahead of the curve, and move their funds forward. Could be viable with this. Maybe paradigm shift in FPL template. What do you think, template? What do you think, Bruno? About are we going to have like premium defense for the foreseeable? I find it really difficult because before we go on to my template rating on live FPL is like 93% something. It's like unbelievably template, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. Obviously, the template's really strong at the moment, so we're getting green arrows. But once it becomes a little bit weaker, I'm just going to feel like I have the same team as everyone on Twitter. So I don't know. But yeah, Bruno, what do you think about the premium defense going forwards? Is it likely to change?
Yeah, I think probably the move that people need to think about is moving Chelsea defense, one of the Chelsea defenders, to a City defender, because of how good the fixtures look. If you look at the fixture ticker on Scouts, I think City are like first for defenders, for defense in the upcoming 6 to 8 game weeks. I think that's probably where the money is going to flow in. But still, I feel like big at the back will stay for the foreseeable future. I think at least till probably January or something, because the midfield, I mean, the strikers haven't really been returning as much. The template strikers. So yeah, I think confidence in them is quite low, and the fact that these defenders keep getting into the box and keep shooting, playing more attacking, I think people get more excited from a goal from Reece James than a goal from, say, even Mohamed Salah, right? Because it's a defender scoring for it.
Yeah, 100%. I did the match of the day challenge when I brought James in that week, just because I had just the right cash to bring him in. I would have gone Chilwell if I had more. I did match of the day challenge and I saw the results, and James had scored 2 goals, and I could not believe it. It was like the best thing ever, and I just got majorly lucky there. But those moments really, really make FPL just fantastic.
Yeah, I watched that live, Ted, and I was, what's the word, ecstatic, just going crazy on my own in my room. So yeah, I know what you mean.
Love that. This is a really what's the word, facetious question, but I mean, is Luke Shaw even on the horizon for the Man United's fixtures? Or is it just like a punt too far?
I think actually, if someone is on a wildcard game week 16, probably the punt that I would recommend would be Alex Telles, because he's on set pieces and he's definitely a Rangnick type of player. Whereas Luke Shaw, I mean, Rangnick said before that United need to invest. That was before Shaw went on such a good run of form. But Rangnick said that United need to buy a proper left back. So he's really not, first impression wise, I don't think he trusts Shaw as much, especially this season has been so poor. So yeah, I think Telles might get the job, to be honest. So,
Goodness me.
not that.
that just evidence we don't know what is going to happen to the Man United squad.
Exactly.
That's why we can't preempt what. I mean, I don't think I can preempt a Man United transfer yet until I see maybe the first game under Rangnick. But I mean, even then, we're probably going to not get the full picture. I mean, just even Rangnick's comments about Ronaldo, it was so cloak and dagger. I definitely could have interpreted that in either way. It was like, he will do what he can to help the team, which is like, either, yeah, he will do some pressing, or he'll be happy when I bench him. And I can't. that
but
comment,
he also said that it's not the manager's the player's job to adapt to the manager, but more the manager's job to adapt the system to the players.
Yeah.
So I don't think Rangnick is the type of manager who's going to be foolish enough to put Ronaldo on the bench every game. I don't think that's possible.
But I mean, even if it's one game in 4, I don't really want a 12.3 asset that has the potential to be benched now and then, especially over Christmas. And that's my biggest worry about bringing Ronaldo, because we know he's a fantastic player, he's a goal scorer in a Man United team that's going to have a little bit more confidence with a new manager boost. That's obviously great, and I think it's obvious, but it's that uncertainty about how that Man United team will shape up and Rangnick's strategy. So I think we have to wait and see, but I'm kind of eager to bring Ronaldo in as soon as possible, though. That's the issue.
I'm thinking about it next week. But yeah, a lot to think about before the big decisions coming in the next two or three game weeks, I think. So, Ted, do you want to answer a couple of the questions on the chat? Looks like there's
go for it.
quite a bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so
have you got anyone's in mind that you've seen? Oh, it's 1:15. I wonder if you've got any early team news for Chelsea, West Ham. Let's have a look.
Guys, please ask questions in the chat, and then maybe we can try to get through it. It's tough to kind of read through everything. But it looks like there's a question from Sanjay. He's saying, who's the best first bench option in this next December period? Ooh, tough question.
I mean, it really depends on the shape of your squad, doesn't it? I mean, Personally, I've got a legit 12-man in Rafinha who's going to be bench first. But, I mean, if you want someone who's cheap, I mean, Dennis or Josh King are really, really viable benching options. Even though they've got good fixtures, it actually makes them difficult to bench and to suffer that points on the bench. But any sort of budget enabler, I mean, Gilmore seems like the best 4.4 option at the moment. His creativity stats have really shot through the roof since Dean Smith has come in. So there's plenty of... The thing is, it's really tempting to answer these with certain tips about which players to bring in, but these trends in budget players, enablers who are going to sit on your bench, also change from week to week. I mean, Brownhill and Douglas Luiz were the template budget picks back in the day when we wildcarded, but now it's potentially like Norman at Norwich or Gilmore at Norwich. So yeah, that could definitely change in the near future. Difficult to answer that. Bruno, do you have any different thoughts on that? Who's your best enabler bench option?
Yeah, I think it's becoming quite difficult to find a good enabler bench option at the moment, because at 5.5 we really don't have anyone except from Brentford, from Embuemo. All the others have skyrocketed in price, right? We see ESO at 6 million, Gallagher at 6 million. So you're going to be investing 6 million for a first bench. I think it's quite difficult. So really, I think that the money is probably in either defense or with Josh King and all. Even Josh King, the fixtures are too good for him to be on the bench, and he's playing too well to be on the bench. So you have to play him. So probably your first bench has to be a defender, right? So I would say maybe Ben Davies from Tottenham. I know Prass made the move this week. Wilfred Prass, he went for Ben Davies instead of Livramento. And I think it's a good shout for a first bench at 4.4 million or something. So similar price to Livramento. I think that's a good shout there.
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, a lot of people like to put all of their money in the starting 11, and I think that's like very viable. Like your starting 11 is the most important part of your team. But over Christmas, there's going to be some rotation. It won't go down to your third bench, but it will probably be your first bench. So I can definitely see the viability in going for like 2 6 million options that rotate from your starting 11 to your first bench, which is kind of what I've done. But haven't got all of my funds in the starting 11. And I suppose it's fine if we've got 4 at the back, 4 premium defenders, because they enable us to have a little bit more funds in the squad. Once the template moves away from that and we start having a few more 7 million midfielders in our teams, then that's when it becomes really difficult to balance your squad and having like a legitimate 6 million first bench option. So it'll be interesting to see how that changes over the course of the season. But for now, I think having 2 like Smith Rowes or Gallagher's or whoever is going to enable you to have a strong squad. I don't see why you can't bench one of them each week. So there's a few other questions in the chat. Sanjay asked again, did I bring in Spurs assets partly due to FOMO? I think I brought in Son like before he had good fixtures, so it was a massively preempted transfer. So I didn't. I got it because of the good fixtures, and I think it just suited my team. So I don't know. In hindsight, it does feel like a bit of a silly move because they haven't really yielded the dividends that we wanted. But I don't know. What's your feeling, Andy, about moving to a team like we potentially are with Ronaldo for Man United when they haven't really shown a tremendous amount of form, but we expect that team to massively improve with their good fixtures?
Look, I think the moving to the Spurs, I see the FOMO, the point about FOMO, but at that time when you looked at Spurs fixtures, it made sense, right? It's the pragmatic approach to try to attack the fixtures when you have a pretty decent team. 1 or 2 punts here and there is not bad. And essentially, it wasn't a punt because of how good the fixtures for Spurs were. So I thought it was the right move. It just hasn't paid off, right? And if you did go against it, then that's great for you, right? You probably gained a lot as a differential here because everyone moved to the Spurs boys. Same thing right now. I mean, we're talking about the United assets as good options because their fixtures are so amazing moving forward. But first of all, do we know who we want? And second of all, what have we seen under Rangnick so far this weekend? This weekend is the first game, right? Even though Carrick had 2 games with them. So, that's the thing, right? FPL, you just kind of make the decisions on your own. And if you think it's the right move to attack the fixtures, which in essence, it's impossible to predict the future. So what we can do is get all the information that we can and make the most educated guess possible. And I think one or two assets of United is the right thing to do with the amount of fixtures coming up. And secondly, this is going to become a template thing, right? So everybody's going to get him in, and if you're going to, play the EO game, then it makes sense to have at least one of them. And I'm going to add on to this because someone asked me thoughts on Fornals. Same thing about Fornals, right? Fornals, Bowen, both on set pieces, both good options. Fornals a little bit cheaper, I think 6.1. But I do believe that most people are going to go to Bowen over Fornals. So that's just the cover that I'm gonna take between those two, because there's a little between how we can decide what's better. I mean, Bowen playing a little bit more right, Fornals making those piercing runs down the center a little bit more. So yeah, good shout there too.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think with the Spurs assets, we knew who were good in that team. Like Son and Kane were the obvious picks to bring in for their good fixtures. But as we talked about in the last few minutes, there is a little bit of uncertainty about how this Man United team will shape up. Who will be Rangnick's preferred players? It seems really, really silly to suggest that Telles is going to be that left back over Shaw, but it very well justifiably could be, and we just have to wait. You mentioned the one or two Man United assets. Who just like out of interest in your head, if you had to bring in two Man United assets right now, who would they be? Bruno, what do you think?
For me personally,
yeah, you personally. There's no wrong answer.
Listen. Okay, so if I say this, I think there's 29 people watching us live. I think they all leave right now when I say this. But I think a good bench option for the next run of fixtures, especially with United's fixtures being so good, if he plays as a number 8, is Fred.
Wow.
Oh, God.
We need to see how he plays.
He got 3 assists in that game. One for De Gea's, one for Smith Rowe's goal. No, I mean,
but he's getting into the box a lot more, and he's pressing higher up. He's playing as a number 8, and we see for Brazil when he plays that number 8 position, how good he is. I think at 4.9 million, whatever, he can be your bench option. There's no harm in that, I would say. I mean, he's not a good player, not a great player, but you can still get the odd assist here and there. At 4.9 million, playing every game for that good run of fixtures, I think he's worth a shout.
I mean, but if we're not going to you're going to get lots of comments.
People are leaving.
No, it's all good. I think we'll soundbite that for when Fred turns into Salah, and we can come back and hail you as a genius. I think I think we're probably not going to be going for 3 Man United assets necessarily. So 4.9, Fred could sit on your bench potentially, but I mean, that's so counterintuitive to me. I can't even digest it. So you never know. 4.8, he could provide some value. If he's getting a few assists here or there, then why not? So yeah, but I mean, for me, it's probably Ronaldo, and I really struggle to find an answer for that second Man United player right now, because their defense seems so shaky, right?
The common narrative here is going to be Ronaldo and Sanchez, and I do agree here. Ronaldo, Sanchez do stand out. But again, we just need more sample size.
Sancho, right?
Sorry, Sancho, yeah. So we just need to see how they do in the next 2-3 games, possibly. But for me, Ronaldo is on my radar just because I've stuck this long for Kane, and it's just an easy move for me. I mean, 0.1 difference in price. So naturally, I'm leaning towards going to CR7.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because Sancho was the bandwagon pick a couple of weeks ago, just to preempt bringing in a Man United player. I think Rashford is arguably maybe a stronger option than Sancho. He's a little bit more injury prone, but he seems to be getting in good positions. Obviously Sancho scored that goal. He could have passed to Rashford. He was backing him up. I don't know. I think we just need to wait and see. But I don't know.
Ted, let's save Bruno here because he's getting absolutely destroyed in the chat. So Bruno, give us another answer besides Fred, please.
I think the last word that Ted said, I don't know. And that's exactly the same thing I'll say. I don't know, because I haven't really seen United play the Ralph. So wait and see. The Fred pick was purely because of his price and his nilness, I would say.
I love the creativity in that shout. To be honest, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't see why we should all think inside the box here. I mean, Fred could be a legitimate option. You never know. I just want to know what's happened to Greenwood. Like, is he injured or has he just lost his place? He could come back in under Ranić. You never know.
Yeah, I think the issue with Greenwood is when you play him with Ronaldo, he doesn't press as well, so you lose too many players pressing, and that's exactly why United were so easy to slice through, because he doesn't press, two, he doesn't really know how to press. He hasn't been coached for that. So yeah, I think the Ragnick, maybe after a few game weeks we might see Greenwood back into the team, I would say.
So Fred rather than Ronaldo. Yes, definitely by Fred. we're gonna stir up the new template here, and I'm gonna secretly transfer in Ronaldo instead and get ahead. No, that's definitely not what we're saying. 100%. No, it's good. We may as well stay for team news, right? Because it's only 4 minutes until they come out. But I don't know whether has Rockstar posted anything yet. I think there's a few comments in the chat saying that he might have. Let's take a look. Apparently, James and Alonso start, but we will see. Yeah,
I like this very casual stream here, Ted. Thanks again for inviting us. It's been super fun, and I've been enjoying Bruno getting destroyed here the last minute. So.
Poor Bruno.
I can take it. At least I might get famous like this, because I get shouted.
I love it. When Fred scores today, everyone will come crawling back to you. It's all good. Yeah, so apparently, according to Rockstar, James and Alonso start, which is obviously good for our teams. I think we all own all of them. So fingers crossed that's actually true. I don't think Rockstar's given us any reason to doubt him in the past few weeks. So yeah, no worries. Fred and Alonso start. That's good. We've got 3 minutes until the legitimate team news come out, so we'll do the team news and then we'll end the stream. But yeah, really enjoyed the casual chat for this stream. It's always like my favorite one because we don't go heavily into stats or anything like that. Yeah. So yeah, thank you both of you for joining me. But yeah, and then it'll be an hour until kickoff. What games do we have today? Is it quite a busy one, or is it spread out this week?
Yeah, maybe we can do some score predictions or something.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, we got West Ham Chelsea today, and then 3 games after: Newcastle Burnley, Wolves Liverpool, and Southampton Brighton, finished with Watford Man City at the end. So 5 games total today.
So okay, we'll start with you, Bruno. What do you think about Chelsea, West Ham? What score?
1-0 Chelsea, I would say.
Low scoring
goals. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a decent shout actually. Probably they're fairly pretty solid teams, aren't they? Fairly contained. So I wouldn't be surprised. Does that echo your thoughts, Andy?
I'm gonna go for 6-5, 5 goals from Owen, and 3 goals from Reece, and 3 goals from Alonso.
That's a typical FPL manager answer. Love it. Just pick like the optimal score for your own team. Oh, I'd love it if it did. Yeah. So what were the other games? We've got Man City, Watford at the end. But what were the 3 games in the middle?
We got Newcastle Burnley. Thoughts here?
I don't know. What do you think?
I don't. To be honest, I don't really care. So.
Well, Sam Maximan is your player, Bruno.
Hat trick. Yes.
There's fingers crossed. Yeah, I mean, it seems like it should be a pretty. I mean, it could go like a really, really low scoring, or it could be like a 3-3, couldn't it? Because Burnley sometimes do turn it on and score 3 goals, but like typically they don't score that many. So yeah, I don't know. It's been a difficult one to call that, and
maybe. Speaking of new managers, I mean, Eddie Howe, we all expected him to go really attacking, and in the 2 games that we've seen, granted one of them was with the red card, but he went super defensive in both games. So yeah, I think we still need to assess how Eddie Howe is going to do, but it looks like he's trying to tighten up his defense more. So yeah, and Burnley don't really know how to score a lot of goals. So yeah, goal game, I would say.
Sorry to interrupt you. I did a little bit of analysis on Newcastle since Eddie Howe took over, and it seems like their XG went up a little bit per game, but their defence got even worse. So that kind of makes sense because Eddie Howe's not really a defensive manager. He's probably just going to try and make them score more goals than the opponent. So for me, it's a little bit of a strange appointment, to be honest. But I mean, if he can tighten up that defence, then great. But the evidence isn't there yet. They've had some middling fixtures, let's just say that. But I don't hold much hope for Newcastle's defence going forward. I'm not sure it's going to massively boost like it has in Norwich. So yeah, what were the other games we have to predict, Andy?
Hold on. Wolves, Liverpool. I'm gonna say maybe 2-0.
Oh, sorry. Chelsea
Okay,
team news in. Chelsea team news in.
Ooh.
So we've got Christensen, Thiago Silva, and Rudiger at centre back. Mendy in goal. Reece James, a right wing back. Alonso, left wing back. Loftus-Cheek and Jorginho in the centre. And then we've got Ziyech, Mount, and Havertz. So Lukaku is still not fit for a start. Hudson-Odoi bench, Azpilicueta benched, Lukaku benched, and Werner benched. So they're all fit for the bench. But not too many. What's the word? Out of what we would expect. I think that was. Yeah. So Alonso does start despite the Saul speculation. Did you see that?
I saw that.
I think if I'm Andy right now, I'm happy Alonso is starting because of Bowen as well. I think there's this potential points there. And I think a player that's probably no one has been talking about is Ziyech. So over the last 6 game weeks, he's 4th in the league for minutes per expected goals. He hasn't played a lot of minutes, so given granted that, but he's tried a lot of shots whenever he's played. Looked a lot more dangerous than probably the other midfielders for Chelsea. I think that's, if he keeps his place, he's probably going to be the player that people go to for Chelsea.
Interesting.
Just to come to the West Ham team news, that I think probably the only thing to mention is that Fornals has been benched and Lanzini comes in. So it's Antonio and Bowen, and then Lanzini, Rice, Souček, and then 5 at the back with Kufal, Johnson on the wings, Zuma, Dawson, Diop at centre back. So pretty normal, but interesting that Fornals get benched. He's been playing well recently.
Yeah. I've got an interesting question here from Teacher. If Salah continuously scores 5 points for the next 6 games, would you consider switching captain?
I mean, he'll be gone to AFCON, right? So definitely.
Yeah, that's true. In 6 game weeks time, he'll be going off to AFCON. Yeah.
Oh, exactly.
Is that right? I don't know. But yeah, it's an interesting one in terms of like objective FPL strategy. If someone that's so regularly highly captained goes on a run of blanking, then it will start swaying some heads to move on to try someone else. But you still can't take away the objective talent that player has and the capacity to explode like Salah has. So it would be a really difficult decision. Let's just say that. But yeah,
I think a question to you, Ted. So it's staying on the captaincy decisions. How do you actually choose your captain? Is it if you have to choose between a player who is most likely to return versus a player who is less likely to return but can return big, which one would you choose?
Yeah, it's a really. I'm the worst person to ask this because in previous seasons my captaincy scores have been just dire. I always go for, like, have that little, the devil on your shoulder that goes, go on, captain this differential. He's got a really good fixture, and then the problem with captaincy is that you are picking a really like one player for one game. It's the most difficult thing to predict in the entire game. You just need to minimize that volatility and just pick the obvious option. And this is something that I've realized over a number of seasons. So it's either just going on Fantasy Football Scout and looking at the captain poll and just captaining the most captain player. But I guess that's the ownership example, which is just a lazy thing. Like, I'm just going to captain people who a lot of other people are captaining, rather than thinking yourself about who is legitimately the best player to captain. I think that's something that we definitely fall into a trap sometimes. So It's really difficult, but for me, I like to just minimise that volatility and just go with the obvious option. But in terms of your original question about whether you think it's like a frequency versus severity question, like whether you think someone's just going to chip away and score every single game week, but only one, or whether you go someone that might blank a few times and explode. So in that respect, I would always go for the former option, that consistency, because if you captain someone and they blank like 4 game weeks in a row, you're just going to be really, really annoyed. And then you have the dependency to hit that massive hat trick or that 4-goal is just so high. You need to hit that, otherwise your other captaincy choices will be in vain. So I would always just go for that consistent one for me personally. Do you think differently? Would you rather go for an explosive option?
I think I'm also on the most likely return sort of a player. I'll also go for that kind of play. What about you, Andy?
I think last season I was more okay with risk and trying to go for the potential, but this season I've been a little bit more different and keeping it safe. And naturally Salah is perma captain, so there's not much to think about right now. Not much to not much dilemma at all. So I don't think it's a too difficult decision in terms of captaincy right now. I actually like how it's been eliminated out of the game in some ways. It's just a different way of playing FPL now. So yeah, I enjoy it.
100%. I think we're in a bit of a luxury environment. Just knowing who to captain every week just makes the game easier in some ways, but it also makes it more enjoyable in terms of being able to support all of your players due to effective ownership just not being a thing. So I personally really like this environment, but it does remove a skill lever that we otherwise had to pull that might be different from other people to move you up that rank. So you could look at it in different ways, but I personally really enjoy the current environment. Right, we've had the team news and we've had a really good discussion. I think we should probably end it there because we could go on all day and be like FPL TV. But I think people will probably watch that, to be fair. But I have other stuff to do. So yeah, thank you to both of you for joining me today. Really good discussion, and fingers crossed we'll get back on in the future.
Cheers, Dad.
Cool. I will see you guys. Thanks for joining us, everyone in the chat. Best of luck for Gameweek 15. Green arrows to you all, and green arrows to both of you as well. Thank you, Andy and Bruno.
See you guys. Have a good day.